countless times in the past. If you're gonna have just one lens for a shoot that requires flexibility, it better be a standard zoom. And that's why in this video, we're gonna take a look at the new Sony 20-70mm f4G. Yes, you heard that right. 20. 20-70. So, if you're already watching this, then Sony has already announced the new 20-70mm f4G. And yes, it's 20-70. I'm still getting used to saying it because I've been so used to saying 24-70 or 24-105. And well, me having to get used to saying that is actually a good thing because we're actually, getting new things out of this tech. So this is the 20-70mm f4G, a new standard zoom for Sony E-mount. And of course, this is best used for full-frame cameras. However, it is still compatible with APS-C cameras with a crop factor. Now, while the name already suggests a huge difference, there's actually a lot to talk about with this new lens. But first, I'm sure you're already wondering, this is 24mm and this is 20mm. That's how much of a difference that looks when it comes to being 4mm wider. First, let's talk about the build, the design, and the buttons. Now, this one weighs just 488 grams, which is a lot less than the 24-105 and the 24-70. The barrel is 99mm long and 78.7mm wide. Now, this, of course, also takes in a 72mm filter because of the 72mm thread. And of course, it comes with a removable and reversible lens hood. Now, there are a few things that you would expect out of new lenses coming out in 2023, and of course, they are in this lens. First is that this lens actually has two focus hold buttons, or two customizable buttons. One here right below the G emblem, and one right here up top. And of course, we have the focus ring right here. We have the zoom ring right here. And now, of course, we also have the aperture ring right here. Now, the aperture has a range of f4 to 22 plus an extra stop for automatic, or actually an extra stop for in-body control. Now, we also have right here the iris lock switch. And this has been something that's been coming out with almost all the lenses that Sony has been releasing in the past year. And of course, what comes with that is the click switch for the aperture, so you can turn off the click or the stops of the aperture, meaning that if you're shooting video and you want to switch from f22 to f4 for some kind of transition, it's gonna be a very smooth transition. Of course, I almost missed the AF and MF switch, which of course comes with literally any autofocus lens that Sony has. Now let's talk about the implications of that, just the physical aspect alone. This lens is definitely lighter and more compact than most standard zoom lenses with a constant aperture. And for me, it would have a lot of impact, of course, when it comes to packing my lenses, especially if I'm gonna bring a lot more, perhaps with a telephoto and an ultra-wide angle lens. I'm not gonna pretend, it's always a dream if you could lessen the amount of weight that you carry getting to landscape locations, climbing mountains, and doing long treks, for example. So having a light standard zoom lens can definitely help you. At the same time, there are instances wherein I might not want to bring an ultra-wide angle lens, so the fact that this goes to 20mm is really good. I've actually done some wide angle landscape shots with a 20mm, so that means that having that range plus the 24-70, the usual 24-70 range in just one lens will be very handy. It might not seem like a lot when you're looking at the numbers, but on the wider end of a focal range, 4mm wider is actually quite a lot. Now, talking about the implications of this also in landscape photography and in nature photography in general, one huge thing about this is that it focuses closer. By closer, I mean this can focus at 0.25 meters. And 0.25 meters is actually significant because most standard zoom lenses can focus at around 0.30 to about 0.38 at most or closest. This can focus on details much closer, and for me as a landscape photographer, I'm excited to do hyper detailed images with focus stacking by focusing on the foreground, the midground, and the background, and stacking them together in post. Plus, if you have the Sony a7R5, you can have that automated and have the camera do the focus bracketing for you. Now at the same time, while this is not a macro lens, it actually comes pretty close and it can help you take photos of smaller details, maybe flowers, some medium-sized insects, some plants, or whatever else, because it can focus closer. Now you can either do that also with focus stacking if you want all the details in the background, but if you want to blur the background, it actually comes with a really nice bokeh at f4 when you're shooting up close. While it's not f1.8, 1.4, or 1.2, at f4 up close, it actually blurs the background pretty well. Now, of course, a lot of the features that I've already said are actually going to be really good for video and even vlogging. The manual aperture ring, as well as the capability to turn off the click or the stops of the aperture ring. At the same time, the iris lock, and this also comes with 2 extra dynamic linear motors that make it compatible to the fast and adaptive focus tracking on the newer Sony cameras. In terms of range for video, I really do think that 20mm is the perfect focal range for vlogging, and at the same time, it's a really good wide-angle perspective. But of course, this is a zoom lens, so you can go all the way to 70 in just one lens. Now, when I found out about the close focusing distance, I thought of 2 things. I've already said the first one, which is doing focus stacking of landscapes with really nice foregrounds. The second one is taking photos of products. To be honest, it really excited the content creator side of me because I shoot products that I review. The most common frustration for me is that sometimes I want to really get in and close to the details, but the lens cannot focus anymore. So the focusing distance of 0.25 when you're on manual focus, or 0.25 when you're wide, and all the way to 0.30 when you are zoomed in, that's really going to be such a huge help in taking photos of details of smaller products or smaller items. Whether that be tech items such as what I shoot, maybe food, clothing, jewelry. I actually tested this on my watch, and I really like the fact that you can go a bit closer and get more detailed. At the same time, a bit more seamless with shooting it. Now, as I said, standard zoom lenses are general use lenses, meaning that they were not created specifically for just one genre. They were not created for just one purpose, but instead, they are lenses that are made to fit the workflow of as many photographers or videographers as possible. And I really do think that the wider range, the more portable build, and the closer focusing distance, along with the extra features for video, are really going to be helpful to a lot of Sony users down the line. And there we go. If you have any questions about the new 20 to 70mm f4G lens, then leave them down below in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel, of course, my name is Nicco Valenzuela. I am a landscape and architectural photographer. And if you are into those things and the gear that revolves around it, then click that notification bell and the subscribe button so that I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.